The 2025 season preview for the Richmond Tigers is coming your way. Sit back and enjoy. Welcome on in, everybody, to the All Aussie Rules YouTube channel. We've got another season preview for 2025 coming your way today. We're taking a look at the Richmond Tigers as we head into season 2025. We're working our way through every club in the AFL, and we're almost done. There's only 4 left after this one, so by the end of the week on Sunday, every club's preview will be up on the YouTube channel, so go check out the rest of them. Plenty of content for you to check out. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Something around about 85 to 90% of my watch time is from non-subscribed people, so hit that subscribe button, help me out. And yeah, don't forget to leave a comment and let me know how the Tigs are going to go in 2025. I have a feeling I know what most people will answer. Without any further ado, let's jump into the Tigs. Finished 2024 in 18th place. Went 2-21. Funnily enough, they beat almost the top team. The top team from the home and away season was one of their 2 wins, and their other win was on the road. So a really, really weird season from them. We'll look back across the previous 5 years. Obviously, starting back in 2020 was the end of their 4-year period, which was resulted in 3 premierships and a prelim final exit. So 2020, they finished 3rd on the ladder, ended up winning being premiers. Was a really good season from them. It was obviously COVID year, so was certainly not an easy year to win a premiership, but they did well. They went 12 wins, 4 losses and a draw, made finals, won the premiership against the Cats. 2021, they dropped off quite a fair bit, in all honesty. They went down to 12, just 9 wins, 12 losses and a draw. Bounced back a bit in 2022, looking good again with 13 wins, 8 losses and again a draw. Finished 7th on the ladder. Not spectacular. They also lost in an elimination final, so didn't go on with it, but I mean, it's not the worst season of all time. 2023, they fell off a bit, down to 13th, 10 wins, 12 losses and a draw. It wasn't a disastrous season, they just never really got going. And then, as we just mentioned, 2024 was the massive fall off. They went all the way down to 18th, 2 wins, 21 losses. And have lost a lot of players from their team that was playing last year. So it's going to be an interesting period for the Tigers over the next couple years. They've invested heavily in the draft this year, or last year, at the end of last season. So I would imagine they will again at the end of this season, because they've already picked up some draft picks from other teams. They've obviously likely to finish bottom of the ladder or very close to the bottom of the ladder, best case scenario. So they're going to have some pretty high draft picks in 2025 again. So a big chance to bring in even more good young talent. So they're hoping that this rebuild won't take too long, but we'll see what happens with that. We'll jump now into their depth chart. I'm trying to keep all these episodes with a bit of a positive note. It's not a great looking depth chart though, let's be honest. So 4 colours and ratings here, just a little explanation. Blue is elite, means they were in the top 10% of their position in my rankings last season. As you can see, there is no Richmond players in that. So not a great start for them there. Green is people in the top 50% of their position rankings last year. Yellow is bottom 50%, and then red is rookies. In other words, players that haven't played a game of AFL football before. Orange would be people that didn't play last year but have previously played AFL football. There are none of them on the Tigers list going into 2025. This is before SSP signings. I don't know if Richmond had any, but yeah, I haven't updated since then. This was all done a few weeks ago, a few weeks before the release of the video. So there could be some changes, but this is how it stood before SSP signings. Key defenders is where we always start, so let's start with them as well. Probably one of their stronger positions, really, but that's not to say much. Ben Miller was ranked 11th last year, actually had a really good season. I'd expect probably much the same from him. He's probably going to get a lot of work, I would imagine. It's not going to be an easy season for the Tigers. Noah Bolter was ranked 37th. He did go forward at times. He kind of rotated back and forward a fair bit last season. Depending how the other young talls go in both the forward line and the back line will probably depend where he plays a bit this year. He is obviously missing, I think, the first 4 games of their AFL season due to a club suspension. So don't expect to see him early season, but he certainly will still come into their team from round 5 onwards and probably play a key role at both ends for them. Tyler Young shows some promise. Will get more opportunities. Same with Josh Gibcus. I reckon we'll see a fair bit of him as well this year. Jacob Light, solid enough. Luke Traynor, obviously a very young player that probably won't see much of this year unless injuries absolutely destroy this team. General defenders, Vlosten was ranked 14th last year, had a good year. He's been pretty consistent for them over the last couple years. His best is good enough to be up there in that elite range. Lacks maybe the consistency of some of the other general defenders in the competition. But I would imagine he will have plenty of opportunity again to get the ball this year. Jaden Short probably dropped off a little bit last year, but still ranked 40th. He's probably looking to increase that a little bit. He's probably capable of certainly top 20, I think, for 2025 in general defenders. Nathan Broad, solid enough. That's probably about his spot. Tom Brown, I think we'll see more of this year. Probably increase his rating a little bit. James Tracy, similar story. And Caleb Smith, I think, will start to get a bit more opportunity as well. Probably won't be in their best team, but I would imagine we'll see probably 10 to 15 games out of each of those bottom 3. Trying to get games into them and trying to start develop these younger players into some longer term options, I guess. Moving into the key forwards, and this is where they have a lot of players. Some of these can play ruck as well. Some of them can probably rotate back. There's a lot that we don't know a lot about. There's obviously 5 players there that have never played AFL football before, so it will be interesting to see how that plays out in this team. Talls typically take an extra couple years than the smaller size players to really develop in the AFL. A lot of that has to do with size. Like, you can be tall, but you don't really bulk out as a tall player until you've played a few seasons. Typically, it's not always the way. But starting at the top, LeFou, I think, showed great promise last year. He obviously got injured halfway through the season and missed a fair chunk, but he's an exciting prospect for the Tigers. So I think if he can stay fit and healthy, we'll probably see a really good season from him, hopefully. Koskitsky was solid enough. I don't think there's anything to write home about, but he's solid enough. Tom Lynch is an interesting one. Obviously, a couple years back was an elite forward. He hasn't played many games over recent years. He obviously got injured for a fair chunk of last year. At his best, if he stays fit and healthy, he can get back certainly into that green range, but as a top 20 key forward this year would be a really good net positive for him, I think. Go back a few years and he's one of, if not the best tall forward in the competition. So will we see him get back to that level? I really don't know, but at his best he can certainly improve a fair bit. Bauer, solid enough without being anything too exciting. And then there's, as I said, the five people that haven't played yet. We'll see at least a couple of them throughout this season, I would imagine. I know they're young, but I think there's a fair chance that we will see at least a couple of them throughout this year. Moving into the forward line, we're already in the forward line, sorry, but let's move to the general forwards, the smaller forwards. Starting Mansell, he showed a great amount of talent last year. I mean, that forward line last year lacked opportunities for fair chunks of games. So to be ranked 33 is solid enough. I think we'll see potentially some more improvement on that, which would be huge for him and huge for Richmond. Seth Campbell, he had a good year last year as well. I think we see him improve. I mean, he didn't do outstanding. He showed glimpses of really good. So he'll be hoping to improve that again. Next up, we've got Maurice Rioli. I think a good player at his best. We haven't seen his best certainly last year. Tyler Sonsi, we'll be looking for improvement on what he did last year, I think. Whether we get that or not, I guess we'll wait and see. Steely Green, solid without blowing the world up so far. Same with Judson Clark, and then Alga and Houghton, both young general forwards who I think we'll see get a bit of game time throughout 2025 as half-forward flankers, subs. I think we will see both of them probably at some point this season, provided they stay fit and healthy and can put together some good VFL form. Moving into the midfield line, I mean, this is one of their better positions, I guess, overall. They've got a bit of depth to it. It's not a great lineup anymore. Certainly not as to the level it was a few years back. Taranto obviously is a gun. He ranked 47th last year. He's best. He's in the top 20 midfielders, in all honesty, but he wasn't at his best last year. We didn't see his best. I would imagine we'll see an improvement from him last year. He showed snippets of it still. He's still at an age where he can peak again. So I'd imagine we'll see him get better again this year. Dion Prestia, he's another one that probably was a bit down. I don't think we'll see him in the top 20 midfielders again, but top 40 midfielders certainly is a possibility for him. Hopper will see improve, I think. Thompson Dow will get some more game time this year, and I think that will help him. Sam Banks as well. Jack Ross will get some game time. Hugo Ralphsmith is a prospect that Richmond seemed to have some reasonable hopes for. He did, however, I believe, do his hammy in the Pracky game the other day, so he may be delayed start to the year. Camden McIntosh and Kane McCurphy, they're not going to be world beaters, but if they can get their ranks up a little bit this year, that will benefit them. They certainly will be needed in that midfield. They will need every man on deck at different points of this season, I reckon, in that midfield. And then they've got their two early draft picks that they took, which was Josh Smiley and number 1 pick Sam Lawler. Smiley's had a bit of a delayed start to the year, but once he gets going, he will be a ball winner. Will we see him get big numbers this year? Probably not. But I think he'll be given plenty of opportunities. He's someone that probably averages 20, 21 touches a game throughout a rookie season, I would imagine. So if he's getting games, he's someone to watch out for. And Sam Lawler, he'll definitely get games. He did break his jaw in the practice game against West Coast last week, so I'm not 100% sure if he'll be ready to go for their first game of the season against Carlton. But once he gets going, he's shown enough signs already that he will be a good player. He's not that dissimilar to a Harley Reid, who was last year's number 1 draft pick. I don't think he's quite at the same level as Harley Reid, but I think he's a decent enough player. I think he's someone that will average probably like 16 touches a game for his first year or two, and probably kick 1.4 goals a game, in all honesty, is what I think we'll get from Sam Lawler. So once he gets going, look out for him. He's going to be a good player. I don't think he's got the roof at the moment that Harley Reid has, but I think he's someone that certainly looks good at the moment, and I think we'll see him playing a little bit of midfield time, but probably mostly a lot of half-forward flank time, rotating in as that extra mid when some of the more senior players go to the bench or whatnot. Moving to the ruck division, I mean, their captain, Toby Nankervis, he's one of the best in the business. He finished 9th last year, which was probably his worst season for a few. Still really good, still above average. We'll see much the same from him again. If he stays fit, you know what you're going to get from Nankervis week in, week out. He gives it his all. Samson Ryan, when he was needed last year, was okay. He's not a number one ruck though. He's only that relief ruckman. So, yeah. If Nankervis is injured, it's going to be rough times. Because they don't have great depth, but not many teams do. Kalina and Hayes Brown, I don't think we will see either of them this year. It'll be Nankervis as their number one, Samson Ryan as their backup throughout most of the season, I would imagine. Jump into their best 22. I did this a couple of weeks ago, so things may have slightly changed. This is ignoring injuries and suspensions. This is what I would consider their best ideal 22 if they were going into a game right now. So backline, Vlosten, Ben Miller, Nathan Broad. I don't think there's anything too outrageous there. Half backline, Jaden Short, Noah Bolter and Tom Brown. Once again, I feel like that's pretty much it. Tyler Young could come in as an extra tall if they needed an extra tall defender. Gibcus as well. They're both probably close-ish to that team. In all honesty, one of them probably needs to be on the bench as a third tall option. We'll see how that plays out though for them. Their midfield, Jack Ross, Jacob Hopper, Hugo Ralphsmith, who, as I said, will be a delayed start to the season. I think Ross and Ralphsmith both need to improve quite a bit on what they showed last year. They're certainly going to get opportunities. Hopper, he needs to improve as well. He's shown a bit of potential there, so whether we get that or not, we'll see. Half forward line, Mansell certainly was their best general forward last year, so look for another good year there. LeFou, highlight plays, he's entertaining. He'll be one to watch out for in the coming years, I think. In that forward line, and Thompson Dow as the other half forward flank. He'll rotate through midfield as well. Forward line, Seth Campbell, Tom Lynch and Koskitsky, so a couple talls there. I mean, Tom Lynch is going to play when he's fit. I think Koskitsky is their next best option, so we'll see a bit of him. Seth Campbell certainly gets games. Ruckline, obviously, Toby Nankervis is a walk-up starter every week. Prestia and Tim Taranto are their two senior gun midfielders that they are going to be relying on heavily throughout this year. Not just to carry this midfield and carry this young team, they're going to be needed to be teaching these younger players that they've drafted, the Smillies, the Lawlers and the like, that go through this midfield, these young players are going to be relying on the Tarantos and Prestias to really teach them how to play, and teach them the ways of AFL football, I guess, in a midfield, because that is a crucial thing for, I think, young players. You see a lot of highly prospected, good young players that come into the league, and they join a team that's down the bottom, and down the bottom for a few years, and they just never quite come on. And a lot of the time, you can probably put that towards the fact that the senior leadership in those positions just wasn't there. So They've still got some senior players in that midfield in Taranto, Prestia, McIntosh. So they're going to be relied on, I think, to teach Smilly and Lawler the ways of AFL football in a midfield. Interchange, Lawler, I think we'll see plenty of him this year. Same with Smilly, McIntosh and Tracy. Emergencies, Banks, McCauley, Samson Ryan, Gibcus, Tyler Young and Houghton. I do think that either Young or Gibcus will probably get a lot of games as well as that third tall defender. Especially if they do think about Noah Bolter going forward instead of a Kiskinski, or if one of the others is injured. One of them will certainly come in for them. Plenty of other young players that will get games. Some of their first year players, but also players like Steely Green. Did I say Jack Ross? If I didn't, he's another one. Oh no, he's on the wing. So, but there are plenty of players, plenty of young players. It's not the perfect lineup, but it's not terrible. If we just go back one slide and look at their depth chart, they have a total of 10 players that are above average or better last season, which is approximately, well, it's less than half of what the best teams have. The best teams have like 22, 23. The average teams have like 15 to 17. So they're a long way off them based on talent from last season. So it's going to be an interesting year for them. It's obviously a development year. Whatever happens this year, it's not the end of the world. Let's have a quick look at their schedule. They start the season in round 1 against Carlton, so no opening round, obviously. They don't want one of the worst prospected teams of the year to be opening the season. But that round 1 Thursday night game against Carlton, it's going to be tough for them. They played well against Carlton last year in round 1. It was one of their better performances of the year, but this is going to be tougher this year. So their buys obviously opening round and then in round 14. Gather round is against Fremantle at Barossa Park. That will be a tough one for them. And the teams they play twice in 2025 are Essendon, Geelong, Gold Coast, North Melbourne, St Kilda and West Coast. That means a lot more for the other teams that they play twice than it does for them. I don't see them going winless this year. I think they will win a game, maybe 2 if they're really lucky. But picking which ones they're going to be is near on impossible. It's just going to be one day everything will fall in line for them and the other team will underestimate them and just get beaten, I think. Picking where it's going to happen, though, is near on impossible. I think you pretty much have to tip against Richmond every week. And you certainly will go better than 50% on those. Trust me on that. So that's about all I have to say for Richmond. I mean, it's going to be no surprise. I'm going to be tipping them 18th. They're going to be almost an unbackable favourite for Wooden Spoon, you'd think, unless absolute disaster hits another club. It's going to be a really, really tough season for them. But they've got some good young players. Get game time into them. They're going to be going back to the draft next year. They'll have pick 1, no doubt, with for finishing last. I think they also have North Melbourne's first round pick, so potentially another early pick there. So they will get more good young talent. I mean, there's also the potential that you trade one of them away and get someone a little bit more senior. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be a tough season for Richmond. There's no doubt about it. So jump in the comments below. Let me know how many wins you see them getting. I'm sitting on that 1 to 2 range at the moment. Don't forget to like the video, as I said at the start, and hit that subscribe button. All these team previews are almost out. We've got 4 more to go. So come back tomorrow. We will have St Kilda coming live on the channel. Season preview. Check them out. Also check out the podcast. There's 2 episodes every week, so go check them out. All Aussie Rules everywhere, social media. We got it all. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next one.